everybody. Welcome to the Hidden Gems podcast. And this is the show where we like to look at a streaming service and talk about some of the hidden gems that you can watch on that service. It's a ton of fun. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Ryan is here.
Hey Rachel, it's great to be back with you once again. By the time this drops, you'll be at D23. I'm slightly jealous, but I hope you have a good time.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Actually, by the time this drops, I will have gotten home from D23, but we're recording in advance, and I hope it's a good experience. It's always a bit of uh, a, a risk because it can be a pretty grueling experience. It's kind of exhausting, but I think they're working hard to make it a little more organized this time, and there's no overnight lines and things like that. So I hope it's a better experience than the last time I went.
Has it been grueling in the past?
Yeah, I really debated about whether to go or not because the lines, the organization, I mean, last time I blew out my back because they don't allow you to bring any chairs when you're waiting in line. And yeah, it can be pretty grueling. But also it has the highs, which is what makes you want to go back and go. But I'm just hoping it seems like they've got it better organized this time than last, but we'll see. Y'all will know by the time this airs what I thought.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, my League of Cinephiles friends, they're actually going to TIFF and they're going to be doing some live matches there. Though
oh,
I'm
cool.
obviously not going, so I'll have to watch it after the fact, but it's just giving me more of an impetus to get my channel bigger so that I can go and not look like a total goof.
hmm Yeah, and I really would have, well, I would really like to go to TIFF one of these days. I think that would be very fun. But it just happened. Hopefully I can go next year because they only do D23 every other year. So it won't conflict next year.
and
But I'm
you are
hoping.
and you are the crown queen of Disney, so you cannot.
Oh, thank you.
Oh ye,
Uh,
oh ye's.
yes, I'm really excited for the animation panel, and then they're having a whole panel on Mickey's Christmas. I'm not Mickey's, Muppets Christmas Carol. So those are my two most anticipated panels. So,
Wait, they're having an entire panel about that movie?
hmm
I really like the movie, but like, is this like a retrospective, like a 20
hmm
years later or 30 years later?
Yeah, celebrating the 30, what is it, 30-year anniversary.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, they do these sort of celebrations at D23. They're really fun. Last time they had a celebration of Little Mermaid, and it was really cool. And then they also had one on Aladdin that had the live action cast, the Aladdin show at Disneyland, which was a big thing for years. They had that cast, and then of course they had the animated cast, and minus Robin Williams, of course. But it was really great, really neat, and so yeah, they do a great job with those panels. I'm very looking forward to it.
I think I may know the answer to this question, but do you think Michael Caine's going to show up?
Probably not, but who knows? I think he's retired, so I don't know if he would do something like that, but that would be amazing. I bet you they will have some kind of video greeting or something like that.
Yeah, I imagine he's going to be in Oppenheimer. He's pretty much in every Nolan movie,
hmm
Minus Dunkirk, weirdly.
Yeah, I mean, he's over there in England, so that's why I think he will probably just get a greeting. I would guess with that, but who knows? That would be amazing. It would be a great to have him there. But Brian Henson, I think, will be there. Some of the other Muppets performers will be there. That will be fun. So,
That dude still owes me an apology for the Happy Time murders. That movie was awful, but that's another story for another time.
yeah, I guess you try things. Sometimes they don't work. I never saw it.
Good.
Anyway, what are we talking about today for Hidden Gems?
We're talking about Netflix, and it's been a minute since we've done a Netflix episode, so it's going to be interesting to go back. I My list is consisting of things that I thought I had recommended before, but I checked our letterbox and it turned or our letterbox list. It turns out no, I actually have not. So this is going to be my correction of that.
Yeah, I did not realize that we hadn't talked about Netflix since February, which is crazy because it seems like because we talked about them a lot in the previews that we've done.
Yeah,
And so I think that's why we thought we had done them, but we haven't done a Hidden Gems episode on Netflix since February. Wild.
yeah, it is. So would you like to go first or shall I?
You can go first.
All right, so my first choice is a movie from 2015, and it is called The Gift. This was written and directed by, and also stars Joel Edgerton, as well as not Jason Bateman. Is it Jason?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is Jason Bateman, and Rebecca Hall. It tells the story of a married couple played by Bateman and Hall who move into their new house together. All seems good, but then they get a visit from a former schoolmate of Bateman's, played by Joel Edgerton, and he starts showing up uninvited quite a bit. And at first, it's nice, but over time, it gets kind of creepy. So they're like respectfully just like go away. And he takes it about as well as you might expect. And this is I think this is a stalker movie. I think that's the best way to describe it, but it's definitely along the lines of that. This is one of the creepiest movies I've seen in quite a while. This will give you the heebiest of jeebies. It's honestly shocking that Joel Edgerton hasn't really done much in the directing department because he did a great job with this one, especially like the last act, like the last like 30-ish minutes. I was just sitting there like, whoa, it was an explosion. It that's the best way I can describe it. All the acting across the board is really solid. There's a palpable tension throughout to the point where you're just freaking out. It's a freak out movie. That's the best I can describe it. It definitely flew under the radar, and especially the last 30 minutes are genuinely shocking. So if you feel up for it, I give it a very high recommendation.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that I fully admit is well made, well done. It's just not for me. I don't like movies where like rape is involved and it goes there in this movie. And again, I it is a well, I would give it fresh. I mean, it's well done. It's just not for me. Um, but yeah, very scary. Uh, the whole stalking, being followed, what happens with Rebecca Hall's character is very scary and upsetting. Um, and so if you like those kinds of movies, then definitely I'd recommend it.
Right. So what do you
Yeah.
got?
Well, my first choice is a new release. It just came out in August, and you can hear more of my thoughts about it on Hallmarkies podcast. We did a whole episode on Netflix rom-coms. They have been rough, honestly, the Netflix rom-coms lately, but this one was pretty cute. It's called Look Both Ways, and it's about this woman who she's in college and she has kind of a one night fling with one of her friends, and she ends up taking a pregnancy test. And then the movie kind of takes two alternate realities. Of one reality is she's pregnant, one reality she isn't pregnant, and you see how both of them would play out, both realities. And it's a cute movie. It's not perfect, but I think that Lily Reinhart is appealing as the lead. She's good as both the mom and the career woman. Um, and Danny Ramirez as her uh fling, I guess, is really good. They do have the guy she dates in LA in the single life. is in favor of live action animation remakes and wants a live action version of Spirited Away, which I found quite shocking. I was like, this guy's no good. But but nevertheless, if you're looking for a rom-com on Netflix, this is the best of the group at least because it was a kind of a weak it's been a weak season for Netflix rom-coms. So,
Is it a spoiler to ask if she is or is not?
what do you mean?
Like, is she pregnant or is she not?
Oh, they don't tell you. They just basically at the end say that either way would be okay. She'd be okay.
Oh, well,
So they
that's
don't like give that this is the actual reality of what happened.
all right. Well,
So
that's a nice message.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's nice. Um, so what do you have next?
So my next choice is a movie from 2019. It's called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This was based on the book of the same name, produced by Guillermo del Toro, old GDT himself. It was directed by Andre. I cannot pronounce this guy's name. It's I believe it's either Swedish or Norse, but
Hmm.
I just can't pronounce it. But he did a really good job. That's all I will say. It tells the story of three teens who find a book of, well, scary stories. And the stories are pretty screwed up, especially for what they're going for. And like I said, this is definitely more near the knuckle, especially for like a I don't know if I should call it a family movie. I don't really think it is. It's definitely near the knuckle for like for a PG-13. Some of the stuff that I saw in this was just shocking. Like I won't spoil it in case any of you haven't seen it, but I thought it was really well done. The young teenagers, I thought they all did a really good job. I hope they get more work in the future. I don't think the movie's perfect. I think this might have if this is based on a book, so if it is in the book, then that's fine. There was a plot about one of the characters being a Vietnam War draft dodger because it takes place in 1968, and they do a whole commentary on that, and I wasn't a fan of that. Not because I have any high opinion of it. It just when I think of scary stories to tell in the dark, I don't expect Vietnam War draft dodging to be in the middle of it. If I want something like that, I'll just watch the first Rambo movie for that. But overall, I thought it was very well done. And like I said, considering the fact that it is PG-13, they get away with quite a bit.
Hmm. Yeah, I liked this movie. I gave it a fresh. It was pretty gory. They get a lot of gross scares they get away with. And the books are actually pretty fun. They There's these books of short stories that were definitely popular for like sleepovers and things like that when I was growing up. It's kind of similar to the Goosebumps, but those are actually, I think, full grown novels where these are short stories. And there's something fun about, reading short spooky stories with your friends. And so I think they captured that pretty well in this. I think it's a pretty good gateway horror movie that's pretty scary, but manageable even for a wimp like me. But it's been a while since I've saw it, so my memory's a little shady on it. But I remember thinking it was pretty scary and pretty gross in a good way.
Yeah, there's
So,
that scene, and it's on one of the posters, so I'm not giving too much away. But
mhm.
with the zit,
Oh
oh,
yeah, that's gross.
that was terrifying. It really was.
Yeah, yeah. The scarecrow, that whole transformation is pretty
Wow,
gross.
that like that made me wide-eyed. I'm like, whoa, what rating is this movie again? Because the dude's literally turning into a scarecrow for the remainder of time. So like,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Ah, a good one. Well, my next recommendation is actually from Illumination. I enjoy their Sing movies. It's my favorite franchise from Illumination, and it's Sing 2. And this movie definitely does take itself too seriously. I mean, boy, this Bono character is a downer. He is a lot. And it's just everybody's kind of depressed and sad. And, um, but nevertheless, I still enjoyed it overall. I like the kind of family message of it. And the music is great. Both the soundtracks to the Sing movies have been some of my favorites. Really been well done. I really like Rosie as a character, Reese Witherspoon's character. You don't see a whole lot of sort of moms being characters in movies, and I like her arc and I like her relationship with her kids and everything, and the way they treat that character I think is really good. I mean, this has an all-star cast, of course, and it's overall, I think, entertaining. I think it does take itself too seriously.
Yeah, I even saw in the trailer when they had Bono as the lion. I'm like, oh well, this is our emotional weight, and they're probably gonna lay it on thick because
Hmm.
Illumination aren't really known for their subtleties, if I can say that.
Yeah. The animation is nice, and uh, like I said, it has a nice message about teamwork and creativity and never giving up on your dreams and all of that. It's I think a worthy sequel to Sing, and I enjoyed both of them. So what do you have next?
So my next choice is a movie from 2013 and is called 42, and this is part one of a Chadwick Boseman double feature of mine. I did not plan it out. I just chose two movies with the late great Chadwick Boseman in it. That's just how it worked out. But 42 was a pretty big deal in my neck of the woods because I live near Daytona Beach, Florida, where some of the movie takes place, and is one of the first places to allow Jackie to play and practice for to eventually go to the Brooklyn Dodgers. This is where the spring training took place. There's literally a ballpark where the Cincinnati Reds developmental team plays, the Daytona Tortugas. It's literally called Jackie Robinson Ballpark, and I can like pretty much map out that entire place. I know every inch of it. I even did camera work for them for a summer, so I know everything about it. So when this movie was coming out, it was a big deal, and I believe in my screening, it was either close to sold out or pretty much sold out. It was like you couldn't fit another person in there, and it's overall this is a very well made movie. It's about Jackie Robinson, the first African American player in the major leagues, and all the difficulties that he had to face in being that. That the late great Chadwick Boseman is just really good here. They picked the right person to play that role. Harrison Ford is really good as Branch Rickey, the guy who found him and brought him up. And really, there is just some scenes where they're just like powerhouses, and even from characters that I did not expect, like the not Branch Rickey, but the manager of the Dodgers. I believe he's played by Christopher Maloney. He has a great monologue when the Dodgers do their Dodgers Declaration of Independence or whatever it's called, and he drags them all to the kitchen, and he's like, "I do not care if Robinson is black, white, or has stripes like a zebra. If Robinson can play, and everything that I've seen says he is, then he's going to play on this ball club. Like it, love it, make your minds up to it." It's a really good scene. And overall, like I said, I'm a big old softy for sports movies and especially baseball ones. So it's a combination of multiple different things that I love.
Hmm. Yeah, so this movie, I mean, it's such a shame because Chadwick Boseman, he wasn't in that many movies. I wish we got to see him more, but it's definitely worth checking this one out. Good performance. I mean, you've got Harrison Ford too, and giving his kind of curmudgeonly best in the role. And uh, I yeah, I like an inspirational sports movie better than I like sports. So I think it's a solid inspirational sports movie if you're looking for that. So I think it's a good pick. All right. Well, my next pick is a series, and it's the one that I was able to give out the award for at the Hollywood Critics Association TV Awards recently. Me and my friend Patrick were asked to give the award for Best Animated Series or TV Movie, and we gave it to Arcane. And I was so grateful for that because I didn't want to, if it wasn't Arcane, I didn't want to look too disappointed because that would be rude to the people who did win. But so I was hoping that Arcane, because I just felt like it's so deserved to win. I'm surprised this is on Letterboxd because it's a series. It's not a movie in any way, but I'm glad that it is. This is just phenomenal. The animation blew me away. The story, the characters, you've got sort of these two sisters that are in there's this utopian society, and there's these two cities, and the sisters are separated on the cities, and everything is escalating towards sort of war between the cities. And I don't know, it's hard to explain. There's lots going on, but great characters, great animation. It's so good. I highly, highly recommend watching Arcane.
Yeah, isn't Haley Steinfeld one of the voices there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's one of the voices, and it's definitely, without a doubt, the best thing that's ever been made off of a video game. That's for sure. And I don't know anybody who's watched it has disliked it. It's uh it's has some of the feel. It's not anime, but has some of the feel of anime, like um something like a what is wrong with me today? Sorry. It's something like some of the more dystopian anime Ghost in the Shell, something like that. It has that kind of feel, but with even better characters than something like Ghost in the Shell. So I just can't recommend it more highly. So you should definitely check it out. Um, what do you have next?
So my next choice is a movie from early, I want to say it's early 27, I think it's late 2017, early 2018. It's called A Monster Calls. This is directed by J.A. Bayona. It tells the story of a young boy whose mother, played by Felicity Jones, is dying of cancer. She's dying. His grandmother, played by Sigourney Weaver, really doesn't have the time to like take care of him, so he's pretty much on his own to deal with just all the emotional trauma that's on top of him. And so he has visions of seeing this big old monster played by Liam Neeson to kind of help him out. And the movie is a lot deeper than how I just described it. It actually is very well made, and it's sad that Bayona, about a year later, would go on to direct Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. But hey, we can't win them all, I guess. It's really well done. Felicity Jones coming off of Rogue One, she's really good here. Some of the scenes between those two are they're just heartbreaking. They really are. And Sigourney Weaver is good as always. The young boy, I really can't think of his name right now, but I hope he gets more work afterwards because I think that he was really good and they gave him a lot to work with. And also his dad, played I believe by Toby Kebbell, is in the picture, but he's also got a family of his own. So it's just this whole thing is just a mess. Like this boy's
Hmm.
life is just a mess. There's some pretensions of where the wild things are, but also it's a lot more than that. Like I said, you just have to see it in order to understand it. And I do give it a very big recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, this movie definitely lays it on very thick, trying to get you to feel the emotion. But for the most part, I did feel the emotion. I think that the little boy is very good, like you said, and that goes a long way. And I think Sigourney Weaver is good as his grandma. Um, and Liam Neeson as the vocal performance for the creature is really good as well. You sense the kind of the bond between them. I mean, it really does throw in a lot. It's got cancer, it's got bullying, it's got divorce, it's got a lot. But for the most part, I think it works and it earns this emotion. So I liked it. I gave it four out of 5 stars. It's been a while since I saw it, but it's definitely, you have to be in the right kind of mood for a movie like this because again, it lays it on pretty thick.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely does.
Mhm. Well, my next choice is a cute little animated film from last year that didn't get a whole lot of play, didn't get a whole lot of praise, but this is a 2D animated film, which is nice. You don't see that often. It's called Arlo, the Alligator Boy. And this is based on a book, I think, or graphic novel about a alligator boy from the swamps in like Louisiana or whatever that goes to New York City, and his sort of hick upbringing is challenged in the big city. And it's a musical, actually. It has a lot of songs. I think it has good songs. The animation is lovely. It is a little, the pacing is a little slow. I'm not gonna lie about it, but I still definitely think it's worth watching. And I guess it was going to introduce a whole series, but I don't know if that didn't happen or if that did, and I just don't know about it. But it's a a a cute movie with some good songs and good animation, so definitely enough to recommend.
How does an alligator boy survive in New York City? I guess I'll have to find out.
Yeah, you have to watch the movie. So, what is your last pick?
So my last choice is the second part of my accidental Chadwick Boseman duology. It is called 21 Bridges. This was directed by Brian Kirk, but it was produced by Joe and Anthony Russo. You might have heard of them. They've done a couple things here and there. It tells the story of a man named Andre Davis, played by Boseman, who is a very successful officer in the NYPD. He is asked to take over a case in which two cop killers are on the loose after a botched robbery, and so he basically is like, all right, everyone, close the bridges, let's seal them in. And basically the movie is just these officers hunting for these cop killers. One of them is played by Taylor Kitsch, uh, on the island of Manhattan. Basically all the bridges are closed, and it's just close it off and just put the pressure on. I don't think this movie got nearly the attention I think it deserved. It's not like an all timer, but it's still a lot of fun. There's some tense moments. The action is pretty solid. Chadwick is in it. He's really good, of course. Sienna Miller is in here. J.K. Simmons, my main man, he's in here too. Uh, Actor named Stephen James is Taylor Kitsch's robber partner, and both of them are good. Keith David is in here as well. There's just a lot of good stuff, and it's rather unfortunate that the movie kind of got buried because it's honestly it's honestly it's honestly pretty good, and and it's like a wait, how can they close all of the bridges? Isn't that a mayor thing? But it's like, don't think about it too deep. It's not deep like that, but it is fun. That's all I will say.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one. I hadn't heard very good things, so I never watched it. But that's good to hear that you liked it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's weird that like after Infinity War, like the Russos would get into producing, and like this was one of the things that they produced. I mean, they've got stupid amounts of money now, so I mean, I guess they have the right to, but at the same time, you're just like, really, why this?
yeah, I mean, I feel like they've had a pretty mixed post Endgame uh resume with Cherry. I know people didn't really like that very much. Um, they're that's with, and then the Gray Man has gotten mixed reviews. I haven't seen either. But yeah, I mean, it's hard, I guess, when you have something so iconic as Endgame. You know, how do you follow up on something like that? Pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, when you go so high, the only place you can logically go is down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not immediately, eventually.
Yeah. Well, my last pick is a film that I watched as part of the AFI Passions project that I'm doing for the Patreon. So cheap plug. If you if you sign up for the Patreon, you get to read every Sunday. I post my AFI Passions review. And that's the list they did, the 100 movies with passionate characters and romance and things that they did in 2003. So most of the movies are older, and I've really been enjoying it. I have gotten to watch the movies that I had been on my bucket list that I had not seen, and other ones that were favorites. Like just this last week did The Princess Bride, which is a lot of fun to watch. But my recommendation is The Bridges of Madison County. This is a very passionate film. It can be quite steamy. I'm amazed that they got away with what they did and got a PG-13 because there's some pretty steamy scenes in this movie. But it tells the story of Meryl Streep, who plays this Italian housewife in the 1950s or 60s. And she is lonely. She's not connecting with her husband. Her kids take her for granted. Her kids go away, and she ends up meeting Clint Eastwood, who directed the film as well. And they form this quick bond, have this romance while her family's gone. And it's a beautifully made film, very well acted, great chemistry, great sense of place. You really do feel like you're in the 1960s. Um, and I I think that uh, it's nice to see, even though obviously her decision to have an affair isn't one I would recommend, you do get to know this character in a really intimate way, and Meryl Streep does such a good job of helping you get into the head of this character. And Meryl Streep is just the best at accents. That is one of her strengths is she's very good at characters with accents. The only thing I don't like about this movie is the setup of having her children reading her will and her diary of what happened. I don't know. I just don't really love that setup. Her kids are kind of bratty, and I don't know. I wish they'd had it. I think that's the way it must be in the book. But I wish they'd come up with a different setup because every time they would go back to her kids reading about it and complaining, I'd be like, ugh. But other than that, I think it's a well done film. And worth definitely worth watching and reading my post in the Patreon group. So just check that out. Uh,
Yeah,
it,
in talk about two sides of the coin with Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep, eh?
hmm yeah. Yeah, they have really nice chemistry. You definitely buy the building relationship between the two of them, and he did a good job directing it. I think it's a well directed film. So that was a fun one to check off my bucket list, like I said, for this project. So that we definitely had so much variety in this week's. If you watched these 10 films, yeah, I think you'd have a pretty good time.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go over our picks real quick. So I have Look Both Ways, Sing 2, Arcane, Arlo the Alligator Boy, and The Bridges of Madison County.
And I have The Gift, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, 42, A Monster Calls, and 21 Bridges.
Very good. Let us know if you are watching and listening what you think of our picks and what you've been watching on Netflix. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And I will also put a link to the Patreon group, but also a link to the Netflix rom-com episode that we had in over at Hallmarkies Podcast. You definitely want to check that out. And Ryan, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. There's, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called Ryan Cam. Coming up on the channel this week, Life in the Movies with me and Jacob. Again, that's going to be dropping on Wednesday. Uh, and then this coming Sunday, just
Remember, this will be posting on the 16th.
yeah, I know. And
Okay,
then
just
yeah,
okay.
Life in the Movies is always on Wednesday.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
So Life in the Movies will be dropping on Wednesday, and then this coming Sunday, I'll be dropping my first reaction to 1998's American History X. I am looking forward to slash kind of dreading seeing it considering the source material involved, but when I put this list together, I decided to challenge myself a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what I think of that. And if you all have not checked me out, please do.
Cool. Yeah, you should definitely check Ryan's channel. And yeah, you can find me here at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes to check that out. Also, make sure you're checking out the Hallmarkies podcast. Got lots of fun stuff going on over there. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. And we also have the Patreon group and merch store. Take a look at all of that information in the description. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.